Welcome to another episode of the Durham Bulls Podcast, which is where our Durham Bulls fans come every Monday to hear from the great celebrities, the great personalities, the great people that make up the history of the Durham Bulls. I'm Patrick Keenis, broadcaster for the Bulls, and if it's the first time you're joining us, we welcome you. And if you've been with us since February when we debuted this podcast, welcome back. You can subscribe and like. It really helps out the podcast a lot, and you'll never miss a notification for a new episode. You can do that on Spotify and on Apple on the audio version, and you can go to our YouTube page, which is Durham Bulls TV, and subscribe there. You can watch me do this podcast from my couch and see our special guest this week from his hotel room right here in Durham. So we've had some great personalities over the past couple of months, from Hall of Fame managers Charlie Montoyo and Bill Evers to Ryan Stanek, reliever with the Seattle Mariners. We've had Brandon Guyer, who was a member of the Bulls 2013 Governor's Cup Championship squad. Miles Masterboni, outfielder for the Chicago Cubs. So everybody. Jim Morris is on the way in a couple of weeks, the rookie. He'll talk about his experience as a Bull. And as fate would have it, our guest this week is somebody very special to the Durham Bulls family. Also somebody very special to the Scranton and Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders and New York Yankees organization. And it's so wonderful to have Shelley Duncan back in the triangle. And Shelley, it's been far too long since we've chatted. It's so good to see you. How are you doing? How's your return to Durham felt so far?
Thanks. Thank you for having me, Patrick. And thank you. Return to Durham has been great so far. It's been about 10 years, at least since I've been back here. And, it was one of the most memorable summers in my life, most impactful summers in my life. Some good and, we'll talk some bad, but like the experience in Durham was one of the best that I could ever tell you. And coming back here, I've already had all those memories, all those flashbacks, and it feels special. It's a very special place. The ballpark is special. The people at this place are special, and I'm really happy to be back.
So full disclosure for the fans. So Shelley is now in his third year as the manager for Scranton and Wilkes-Barre. And before we get into your time with Durham, which is kind of the crux of this podcast, it's been so enlightening to me to have an opportunity to go back and review your life and review your career, and to be such a special member of the Yankees organization. You've come full circle. You were drafted by the Yankees. You came up through the organization. You played for Scranton, and you made your major league debut as a New York Yankee. And for baseball fans growing up, there are only a couple of real paragon major league clubs, right? You got the Dodgers, you got the Yankees, you have the Cubs, and maybe the Red Sox might be part of that kind of Mount Rushmore of major league franchises. What was it like to come through that organization, and what was it like to be a Yankee?
It's extremely special. Coming up through the organization, right when you get drafted by it, you start thinking about the history of the organization. When I talk about the history, you go all the way back. I'm in the organization with Ruth, Garrick, DiMaggio. Yeah. It's special. Those are the time I came up. Those are the times of George Steinbrenner. So, we had the boss around the complex down in Tampa, and I spent 6.5 years in the minor leagues, and you have the pressure to win every single day in the minor leagues, and that comes all the way at the top from the boss. And you also have all the talk about Derek Jeter. Jeter was, everyone played like Jeter. You have all the superstars on the Yankees during that time, and you also recognize that it was going to be very hard. Everyone understood it's going to be very hard to make with the Yankees. A lot of guys thought that they're playing minor league baseball to get traded, but I'll tell you this. The way that I was taught playing the game, I can't ask for a better organization to be a part of. And it's not just the history and the nostalgia that comes with it, the name, the Yankees, the fans that follow every minor league team, that you have all the autograph people sitting outside every Yankees minor league compound, the media presence, but the way that they taught the game, the fundamentals, how to play the game right, the pressure and the fun to win, all of that came with being part of the Yankees. And I've taken that with me everywhere I've been. And it's kind of shaped who I am today. And it's also helped me a lot transition to this role coming back to the Yankee organization, really understanding what the players are going through, the pressure they have, what they need to be taught, the expectations that they have on them. It's special. And to tell you also, to make it major league debut with the Yankees at the same time and be a part of that 2009 World Series team, be able to play in the playoffs in 2007 in the big leagues, it's I can't ask for much else. I mean, when I got done playing, I sat back and looked at everything and really understood how grateful I was for my career and just the time over here in this organization.
Great stories. And there are so many different tangents we can go off of. And the first thing that came in my mind is you're talking about the boss, right? You're talking about George Steinbrenner. Do you remember the first time you met him? Because it's not like you were a 48th round draft choice. You were a high pick, expectations on Shelley Duncan, kind of coming out of the Arizona Wildcat program immediately. Once you're in the organization, you are one of the it guys as far as the future for the New York Yankees. And I'm sure you had interactions with George Steinbrenner early in your career, did you?
My first winter, I came down to Tampa to work out early. I wanted to be a part of the spring training. I wanted to get there early. And Billy Connors, he was the pitching coordinator at the time. He took a couple of us to a hockey game. And he had a booth or one of the suites set up for us. And we go to the hockey game, and Billy's like, "Hey, Shelley, I want you to meet the boss." And there he is right there. And I'll never forget, he said, "All right, Shelley Duncan, so nice to meet you. I want to tell you, I loved watching your dad play. Your dad, not as a coach," he goes, "he played hard. He played the game the way you're supposed to play it." And that was like it hit me right there. It was real special. I was almost like made me proud of, be his son, but it also told me like that's how I want to be known as. It was something I took with me throughout my whole career. I want to be known as a guy that played hard, and anything else, hit homers, whatever it is. I just want to be known as a guy that plays hard, because that was pretty special the way I met him, and that stuck with me forever.
I was planning on bringing this up a little bit later, but since you kind of opened up the book, Dave Miley was your manager in Scranton when you got news that you were being called up to the Yankees for the first time in your career. Can you recall that story? How vivid is it still in your mind? And what were the special conditions? How did Dave tell you? And what was it like walking into Yankee Stadium that first time with a Shelley Duncan jersey hanging in your locker?
I think everybody, like, that first time they're called up and that first day, like, stuck in their mind forever. We're in Indianapolis and the game just got done, and I'm walking back to the hotel, and somebody, maybe Butch Weiniger, the hitting coach, called me. He's like, "Hey, did you leave already?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Get back here. Want to talk to you about something hitting." All right. So I get back there, and the coaches are in their office, and they told me I was going to the big leagues. And to be honest, I was in shock, and happy shock, like kind of like frozen. Really happy, and it was really happy to share with those coaches right there, because they like helped me get over that hump in terms of what I need to do in my career. And first person I called was my dad, and he was coaching the Cardinals at the time, and remember how excited he was. And called my brother, how that was the next guy. And I remember going to New York, and so next morning I hopped on a flight, got there real early, and man, like, only other time I was there was I was thinking I was like 13 years old with my dad going on a road trip, but now, like, I go into that city, and I can't tell you like how big the city felt. It was like huge. I took a cab straight from LaGuardia to Yankee Stadium, and like I don't really remember. It's like you go into this huge city, you have no clue where you are. That's how I felt. Everything just felt huge. And going to the stadium, and you feel lost. Never been to the place before, and I got there real early. And this is funny. So the first person I saw was my roommate in Scranton to start the year, Kevin Thompson. So he's already at the field. So I walk in, and Kevin, call him KT. KT is like, he sees me, he's like, Shelley, you here? Yeah. And then like immediately he realized that it was probably somebody needed to get sent down, and it was
no.
probably him. So Shelley, yeah. And he goes, oh. And then like less than a minute later, Rob Thompson or Mattingly's like, hey KT, Corey needs to talk to you. And he's like, oh, man.
Oh no.
So bittersweet. But it's still like KT, man. He's still one of my closest friends in baseball, but that was right when I walked in.
Oh, what a great story. Because again, this is not that long ago, but technologically it is a long time ago because you didn't have social media, you didn't have Twitter, you didn't have all
Yeah.
the player moves that are, out in the public space a minute after you tell somebody in the locker room, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that was funny.
Oh, what a story. And you open up against the Rays.
We did. We
Yeah.
opened up against the Rays, and Edwin Jackson was my pitcher, my big league debut. I ended up having, I think, more bats against him than anybody else in my career. Of course, he played for like 30 teams. But yeah, I my first swing was like a foul ball, a mile foul, like just so adrenaline up the yin yang. Like I was so excited. I struck out my I think my first 2 or 3 at bats, and then I came up in my last at bat, and I'll never forget. Laz Diaz said he was an umpire at the time. He told me, he goes, all right, Shelley, be patient here. I'll help you get a good count.
This is the umpire.
Yeah, umpire. All right, let's take first pitch. I swear, it's strike, Patrick. Ball. All right. Let's get a fastball now. And it's like chilled out, and I said, easy swing. I got my single, and I was completely relaxed after that. And I ended up having a good series the rest of the way.
A good series is an understatement, because the next day you hit a home run. The next day after that, you hit 2 home runs. And yeah, that's a good series. By the way, going back to Laz, with your memento, with your first big league hit ball, did he get it and not your parents?
No, you should have, huh? I got it, and Gene Monahan wrote on it, everything, and I still got it back home.
Oh, how about that? What a great story. So again, there's so many different directions that I want to take this, but first off, let's kind of deal with the bittersweet return to Durham. We're recording this a couple of days before a big event, a big race, for charity here in Durham, that just coincidentally is happening with the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders in town. And it's an event that's very, very close to you, with the history of your family, losing your mom, losing your brother to the same brain cancer, really within the last, 11 to 6 years. So can you dive into that story a little bit, and the story about your mom and about your brother, and what the last decade has been like for the Duncan family?
Yeah, the last decade, there's been a period of ups and downs, I guess. Let's see, 2011, my mom was diagnosed with a glioblastoma brain tumor, in the middle of the season, or towards the end of the season. And she had her surgery and was treated here at the Duke Medical Center, the Robert Fish Brain Tumor Center. And that was our first time like coming there, staying at the Washington Duke Inn, getting to know all those people over there that do such great work. And like a year after that, 2012, in October, my brother got diagnosed with same thing, and so he came to Duke. So both of them got treated. Chris had his surgery here in October of that year. My mom passed away in 2013. That was the year that I got signed with Durham, or with the Rays. I broke with the big league team and then got sent down, and I spent the rest of the summer here. She passed away that summer. Chris battled it. He went through all the treatment here, all the stuff, and actually had some clear scans. But after 7 years, the tumor came back, and he battled it some more. Almost had it beaten again, but just couldn't get over that hump, and it got him in 2019. He passed away then. But his journey through that whole thing was huge. So tying along that race, I was in January. I'm looking at stuff to do each city that we go to this summer, and looking for little like 5Ks or different things. And I saw that there, just coincidentally, there's 5K here, raising money for brain tumor research at the Duke Hospital at the Robert Fish Brain Tumor Center, and while we're here, and it's almost like perfect timing, and I don't know, it all lined up so well. So I call our traveling guy on our team, and I says, "Hey, Soli, we're doing this. Let's get our coaching staff, put together a team and do this." And then, we decided to do it, and we've put together this team. We call ourselves the Fighting Porcupines. That's our team, because the Scranton Rail Riders originally were supposed to be the Porcupines, but they, said, "No, we can't be the Porcupines. We'll be the Rail Riders." And then, mascot's still a porcupine riding a train. So like we call ourselves the Fighting Porcupines for the race. But we got a team, and a lot of through friends and people in the organization, we've raised over $2,600
Wow.
to donate for this cause, and it's unbelievable. It's feels really special, Patrick. And so I was talking to guys on the team about it yesterday, and it almost makes me speechless, and almost like get really, I clam up, because it's hard to people. It's very humbling to know, when you have something that special, the support that you get from everybody. And it's a really cool thing, and the timing of everything is really cool. And and seeing my brother and my mom battle it and go through it, it pains me for any person and any family member that has to deal with this. And I really do pray that they find a cure, because it's one of those ones that I still don't think that the odds of beating it completely are really good. But I know that the research that they're doing is in the right direction.
Have you had a chance to visit the hospital? I know you've only been in Durham for a couple of days. Is that on your list of things to do, or are you hoping to see some doctors and nurses at the race and walk this weekend?
I'm going to play that one by ear. I'm going to go over there, and to tell you the truth, like there's been some little things here that get emotional, and I know the closer I get over there, the harder it'll be for me. And I'm excited to just go over there, but I know it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So you've recruited a lot of your staff, your coaches, your support staff, even your broadcaster, Adam Marco has been telling me about it. He's reluctantly going. He wishes he had a little more notice.
Reluctantly going. Yeah.
Just more to get in shape, not for the cause, certainly. Yeah, Shelley. So I was talking on the broadcast with Scott Pose, who is another former Yankees outfielder. He's my color commentator here with the Durham Bulls broadcast, and was curious in talking about the event leading up to this weekend for you and your staff, if players might be involved, or if you're wanting them to participate in some way, or even if they knew much about the story at all involving your mom and your brother. How much did they know, and what did you tell them about it?
One, I don't think any of the guys know going in. It's probably very few. Just to like know what players really know about the coach's history. I work with catchers, Patrick. Like that's a position I really work with, and I still got a lot of players thinking that I was a catcher back in the day. So,
okay,
but I don't really talk about it much, and I don't think people really a lot of these guys, I think, are too young to understand how to like react. I think, a lot of times when I start talking about this stuff with people, some people kind of just shell up and they don't know what to say. So I don't really talk about it a whole lot. They don't really know. And I don't want them to run it. It's 8:00. The 5K is at 8:00. I want them sleeping in and feeling good for the game. You know, I had one pitcher ask if he could do it, and I was like, yeah, man, you guys can do it, you know, like, but it's early. You know, I'd rather you sleep in. But it's the opposite for the coaches, you know. All of us are doing, all the coaches are doing it. And yeah.
Well, well, it beats running stairs at the stadium, right? But as long as it's not your Saturday starter.
Yeah, but I love talking about this stuff because, you know, like, there are some really good stories that come out of it.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, I mean, can you share with our fans memories of your mom, Janine, and your brother, Chris, if that's not too difficult this weekend?
Yeah. The first thing I want to say is, I want to tie it in, like, how grateful I was, like, during that time that I was here out of everywhere. It was almost like this, it was like the perfect place. I don't know why, but it was. The team I had that year, we won the Governor's Cup. The way Charlie was with me, he's like a father. He's like my second father now. He's family. The people here, it was one of the hardest times of my life, and the way everybody brought me in and just like, is I couldn't ask for anything better. But memories about my mom, most lively, fun person in the entire world. She was my biggest supporter, always in my corner. I could get in trouble and she'd always have my back. She was my biggest fan, my biggest supporter. I know this. I would have never made it in my career as a major league player without her support. Taking me to Little League games, going to every game and everything. My brother, the hardest working individual, great personality, kindest, best teammate. The stories that people talk about him, how hard he battled through this thing. One of the things that's kicking me on this thing is, while he had his brain tumor, me and my wife went to Vegas and we are gonna run in this half marathon, and we didn't tell him that we were like training for this thing. He's like, "What are you doing this weekend?" It's like a Monday. And like, we're going to Vegas. We're going to run in the Hard Rock half marathon. Really? I'm like, yeah. You want to go? He goes, all right, I'll go. And he hasn't been training. And he met us there. And without training at all, he ran the whole stinking thing. And he beat us.
He beat you.
Yeah. But every single day, like, you know, to the day he passed, he went to the gym and he worked out to try to keep all of his functions going. And he would go into the desert, in the mountains, in these hiking trails, and wear a weighted vest, and to make sure he could walk as long as possible. He'd walk these trails all by himself at times. And like, his determination and his discipline and is unmatched. And so that inspires me and stuff like this.
You know, what fans may not realize is when you're diagnosed with this type of brain cancer, that generally it's 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And Chris lived seven
robust
years.
Yeah.
It's unheard of. I mean, it speaks.
He knew it too.
Yeah.
As much as everyone wanted to believe that, like, he'd had it beat at times and never come back, he knew it. But his outlook on life was unbelievable.
Yeah. And when you were with the Bulls in that 2013 season, I don't remember other guys maybe even knowing about this. I certainly did not at that time. How challenging was it through that 2013 season as your mom is battling in her last few months, and you're here with a new organization and your brother's diagnosis. And I mean, all of these life major events are happening, and you're still trying to focus on being a Major League Baseball player, and with all the other, again, kind of outside events taking place.
It was really hard. At times it felt like I was in a fog. You don't know how to deal with emotions like that.
Mm.
But it was like hard. How about I had a lot of moments when I go to my hotel room and my roommate was Mike Fontenot, and
Yeah.
like
Loved him.
he became one of my best friends in baseball
Mm-hmm.
at the time. He just let me like have good cries. Yeah, it was hard, but I don't think anybody really knew everything until like the day like when my mom did end up passing away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And like knew it was coming, but
Yeah.
it was that day is still the hardest thing, and I think everybody else knows.
Yeah. Yeah. As I reflect back on that season, fast forwarding then a few months later, when the Governor's Cup is being determined up at McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket, that was just my second year with the Bulls, and I always saw you as this gentle, soft-spoken giant. I didn't see a lot of your antics in the clubhouse. I know there probably weren't that many that summer with the conditions as they were, but when the Bulls won that championship, one of the first memories I have of you inside that kind of wide and spacious visitors locker room at McCoy Stadium was all of a sudden I saw this person, this huge human being, especially compared to me, in the locker room, just um, almost like a different person. I mean, you had champagne bottles in both hands. You're seeking out your teammates. I mean, you are celebrating as hard as anybody in that locker room. But now I begin to understand the extra significance. I'm sure it was an emotional release of a very, very challenging, probably one of the most challenging years you've experienced living, and doing it with your close friends, with Mike Fontenot, who I love, and Brandon Guyer and Oda Rizzi and all those guys who were there, and Charlie, who kind of escorted you through the painful the painful voyage of that summer.
You're exactly right. It's almost like the relationships I built with each guy in that team. When you go through stuff that's really hard, it seems like emotionally you become tighter with those people around you.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of veteran players on the team, and we had a lot of really young players. And I
Mm-hmm.
always felt like those mixes like tend to be really fun. And those veteran players, like we had a pretty special tight bond. And even the young players, like they looked up at us as like help teach us like little ways to get to the big leagues. And
Yeah.
like the bond was strong. And going through all that, it just, you know, I don't know, you start playing, it becomes more, you're playing for more, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm playing for my mom or for her family, but you know, it's like you're playing for your buddies, and
Mm-hmm.
to win, to have those moments, it means more because it just all comes out. There's no individualism. There was zero individualism in that locker room, and when you have that, it's so special. And it's something. That's one of those celebrations in Pawtucket I'll never forget. Just that
Yeah.
champagne everywhere, and
Yeah.
those guys is
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget.
Yeah. You're playing for more, and in a different sense, you're living for more, I would imagine, because of all that you went through. And I'm going through a similar experience now. But um, how has going through such challenges, such grief, such despair, and getting through on the other side, how has that made you a better dad? How has that made you a better husband in terms of dealing with that with your family? Because you're a father of five kids, five young kids, right?
Uh, yeah, with
I
600.
don't want to turn like psychologist on you, but
No,
I mean,
no, it's
this helps
true,
me.
and it really is. It's all about you know how when we're really young, you think you know a lot in life, and then the older you get, you realize how little you actually know, and it's like the older and older and the older you get, you realize like it's like I know this, I know it's like I know so little because these new experiences come to your life that you don't know how to deal with, and you go through them, and it just broadens your perspective so much
Mm-hmm.
in life, that I feel like um, it softens you. So it's softened me. I've been more empathetic with people, all that. It's easier for me to um, look at somebody's actions and say there's might be something deeper going on,
Mm-hmm.
and don't be so judgmental. That like there's some stuff that people go through in life that you do not know, and never go into a situation saying like, I know what you're going through, because honestly, everyone goes through things differently,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really hard. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just different experiences that people have. It doesn't matter what they are. It just helps shape them, and you don't know how or when or why it'll have the biggest impact, but it shapes you, and it's who knows how this will overall shape me in my future. I don't
Yeah.
know, but it shaped me to who I am today. It's it's kind of in a sad way, in a good way. It shaped me. My mom and brother will always be with me.
Mhm.
Um, and I miss them every single day.
Yeah.
And I only hope that all that has made me a better person going through it.
Yeah, well, we're so grateful to have you here. Just a couple more questions, if you don't mind. I'm glad you brought up Charlie Montoyo earlier because you said he's one of your closest friends in the game, a father figure when you played here in Durham. And now I don't know if you had any interactions with him before you came here to Durham or if you had come across him. He's one of my best friends in the game, and because he was my first manager when I came to AAA, and he guided me through some really challenging and hard and painful times early in my AAA career. Um, how special was it then when you heard that Charlie Montoyo finally got his first opportunity to manage the major leagues, and then a month after he did, he brought you on as the field coordinator for the Toronto Blue Jays with him. Speak to that, because if you'd only known him for that 1 year in 2013, boy, what an impression that you both made on each other.
He lives in Tucson,
Mm-hmm.
which helped, and our relationship
Mm-hmm.
was able to grow after that. But there's nobody more deserving in baseball than him to get a big league gig and big league managing job. And he got that job with the Blue Jays, and he asked me to join him. And he's the one guy in the world I would never say no to. And
Yeah.
I hope we're on the same staff together again sometime
Mm-hmm.
down the road. Players, nobody knows how lucky they are to play for Charlie Montoyo until you're done playing for Charlie Montoyo and you look back. He's he might not be the loudest and most vocal and leader, but he's the most caring
Yeah.
person in the world, and he does so much for players behind the scenes that they don't know, and he's one of the most special human beings
Yeah.
I've ever met.
Yeah. And I think he's helped me learn, kind of like what you said a little bit earlier, about becoming more empathetic to an understanding of other people, because we do kind of swim through life's challenges differently, right? Some are backstroke, some to the
Yeah.
breaststroke, some just kind of flail around because they just don't know how to swim and they're trying to survive. He helped me become a more empathetic and understanding person. So I think that I completely understand, as you mentioned, his interactions with you in that 2013 season, because he did the same thing with me the previous year. Such a special guy, and you've had such an interesting life just with your experiences, your family's experiences. You brought up your dad earlier. Your dad played in a World Series and won a World Series. Your brother played in a World Series and won it with the Cardinals, and you were with the Yankees in a World Series campaign. What was it like growing up, Duncan, with your dad, playing and then coaching and being one of the gurus as far as a pitching coach, and alongside your competitive brother, just driving everybody. What was it like in the Duncan household with baseball the centerpiece?
It's like, well, it's all we knew. So, we'd say it's normal. And but in reality, it's far from it. Every summer we got a chance to go out to Oakland and spend time with the really good Oakland A's teams in the late 80s, early 90s. But most of the memories and all the memories do come with my brother. Like Dad's gone a lot, he's on road trips. We're still in Tucson and, school before we go up to Oakland for the summer. And even when we're in Oakland and go to the ballpark, it's me and Chris running around the stadium doing stuff together. So everything was driven. Like if I had to say the biggest influence in baseball, my career, is my brother. And that's the guy I spend the most time with and talk with the most. And he was the one that, we do everything. But we were lucky to have an environment where it's some good role models to watch and to see.
So when you're spending your summers in Oakland, you're talking about Dave Stewart, right? You're talking about McGwire and
Stewart,
Canseco.
Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco, Terry Steinbach, Ricky Henderson, Dave Henderson, Dennis Eckersley, Bob Welch, Cardi Lansford. Dang, that team was good.
Who were the players who kind of took you and Chris under their wings? You said there was
McGwire, main one. He's the main one. We were lucky. A lot of them did. I could tell you, learned my curveball from Bob Welch, split finger from Dave Stewart. Swing from Mark McGwire, got batting gloves from Jose Canseco. We had to wear Terry Steinbach's cleats because he had small feet when we were kids. Like a little bit of everything.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And when I reflected on your dad's career, I just was curious when he played, because he played in an era, like he played in an era of Major League Baseball. Late 60s he broke in, but it was the early 70s and he was with some teams. And I just wrote down, like, I didn't even have to write down full names of teammates of his, because his teammates were Brooks, right? Brooks Robinson. His teammates were Reggie, Raleigh, Catfish. I mean, you don't even need full names for these guys. Gaylord, Palmer. Yeah. I mean,
Vida.
Vida. I mean, the greats of the greats.
Yeah.
And he caught a lot of them on the mound. I know you were a small kid when he was playing. Were you born when he was still playing?
No.
Okay.
But so, I heard all the stories.
What kind of stories did he tell you?
He didn't. He was humble. He didn't. Okay. He was humble and quiet, and he didn't like to tell his stories. I'd hear them from other people, which is, I think it's more impactful. But the pitchers that all met loved to pitch to him. They always would talk about how smart he was as a catcher and how relationships. He was so big at building those with the pitchers. He was big. But that's I had to live through stories of other people. But he became a pretty good pitching coach because of his just how much he liked to learn about the game.
A pretty good pitching coach. He's regarded as one of the best in the game.
Yeah.
He coached 4 Cy Young Award winners over his time, right?
Yeah.
He's pretty good. What are your memories with him just off the field, with you and Chris? Non-baseball. I'm sure that wasn't a whole lot of your time, but it must have been a little bit of a sliver. Were you guys movie guys? Did you go karts? What did you do off the field?
Not a whole lot with Dad. The one thing, Dad was his knees were all beat up from catching all those years. But we'd golf with him. He'd do stuff with us in the winter with our sports stuff, and I don't know, little stuff, but we weren't We didn't do a whole lot. It was like, I really mean it. I look back on it, it was like mostly me and Chris were so wild and go that he'd always just try to set stuff up for us and go, and then be the old wise man and come home and have our talks.
A couple of final questions. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about your wife and what it is like, because this is new to me with a 2-year-old son, on the baseball life with kids. It is really hard being on the road for 2 weeks in Lehigh Valley and Worcester with my wife back here and my son wanting to play tennis with daddy every morning, and daddy's in a hotel in Allentown. So tell me about your wife, Kirsten, and your 5 kids, and how to be a best dad in the baseball world.
Ooh, it's the hardest thing in the baseball world, being away from the family as much as it is. It truly is. Like, it comes with a strong wife and a strong mom. And my mom taught me that, and I've heard that, and I started realizing how lucky I was to have her going through all this. She loves the kids. She loves doing everything for them. FaceTime helps a lot. We FaceTime
It
all
really
the time.
does. How old are your kids, Shelley?
11, 5, 3, and 2.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so FaceTime all the time. But I think the biggest thing is any single moment we're together, just being 100% present with them and having fun with them, and doing everything I can. And it's weird. It's like day to day, I guess, and it goes along with the same thing. Like, with the most kids you have, you start not stressing about the little stuff. Don't stress about the little stuff. Don't stress about every single little thing, or else everything becomes overwhelming. And I started realizing that every kid is different. All the personalities are different. So there's not one way to like parent, each individual needs like something different. And and just love every moment, and realize that you don't have all the answers, but you will figure it out. So don't stress.
So when we met back in 2013, just a couple more questions for you. You kind of think, or I do, of who would be a potential big league GM, who would be a big league manager off of this team looking 10, 15 years down the road.
Wouldn't have said Gomes.
Yeah. Wouldn't have said Gomes. Vote, I would have said Albernaz as a coach. Absolutely. He was on that 13 team.
Yeah. Brandon
Gomes, now the GM of the Dodgers. I don't know that I would have picked you as a managing prospect through the game. Was this always the plan as the next step to be a minor league manager and trying to get to the big leagues?
Yeah. Yeah, in a different way, Patrick. I'm not the cookie cutter manager that you'd think. I very authentic and let my personality just be itself. But there's a lot of the game that I'm able to share with other people, and that I'm fortunate. But yeah, definitely not the stereotypical, manager.
Well, that's why that's probably why you're so effective and so loved by your players, right? I mean, you're one of them, right? You battled just like they did for years, and they don't all have to be Tony La Russa style, right? Yeah. Do you still have your Durham Bulls championship ring?
Heck yeah, dude.
You wear it?
No.
Well, what's interesting is you actually won a championship ring with Scranton in Durham.
I got a ring for 2008. Scranton, the Scranton team, 2010 Columbus Clippers, 11 Columbus Clippers, and 13 Durham Bulls.
Man,
so I had a good little run right there.
It's a solid run. There are people who play 30 years or in the game 30 years and don't win one. Yeah. So what you'll be interested in, since we were talking about Charlie earlier, as we wind things down here with Shelley Duncan, manager of Scranton Wilkes-Barre. When the podcast began, I spent probably 3 full days in the office combing through hundreds of potential theme songs for the podcast. right? So it's a huge catalog. NBC Universal has it. We were going through, narrowed it down. I mean, I'm doing it hour after hour. I wanted to find the perfect song. So Charlie was our guest with the first episode. Brand new song leads us in. Here we go. Bah, 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 the Durham Bulls podcast. And during the middle of the podcast with Charlie, he reveals his story. Last summer, as the bench coach of the White Sox, he loved to play the conga drums, right? He did that at the DBAP all the time and even on the road sometimes. So last year, he goes to the Cubby Bear, which is on the north side of Chicago, on like an off day. And they have a salsa. His wife, Sam, found they have a salsa Sunday nights. So Charlie goes to the north side, and salsa night, he talked with the owner. The owner said, okay, well, he said, how humble Charlie is. He didn't want to say he's the bench coach for the White Sox, but he also, I play a little bit. The owner went to the live band playing and said, hey, got a guy here. You're going to want to take him on stage, let him perform with you and see how it is. Anyway, so Charlie started performing live on his conga drums with the band. And next thing you know, Charlie and Charlie's agent put together a couple of songs. One of them is Charlie on the conga drums playing Take Me Out in the Ball Game. So after spending 3 days of trying to find theme music for the podcast, after Charlie's podcast airs, we scrap the music and we get Charlie's theme music of Take Me Out in the Ball Game as the theme music for this podcast. So if you do watch this when it drops later on next week, know that Charlie is the guy playing the conga drums that is the intro music for the podcast. So Shelley, as we and you remember him playing, right?
Yeah. Oh, every day. Every day.
Every day. So I know you have work to do, so we'll let you go. For the fans now who are just getting wind, because the race, by the time they listen to this, the race and the walk will have taken place on Saturday in downtown Durham. Certainly, though, we can still raise more money for the cause. And I know you have a fundraising arm where they can go to make donations for this. Where can they go to contribute to you and the Fighting Porcupines? Is that what it is? Is there a link on your Twitter page? That might be the easiest way to go.
Yeah, I threw it out. I retweeted a link on my Twitter page.
Okay.
I don't know the exact place right now.
What's your Twitter handle?
I
said twiddle.
Twitter Shell Dunk. SHELLDUNC.
Okay. Hey, best of luck to you. Thank you so much for your time and your stories and your gracious memories. It's been just a great thrill for me to have you on here, and it's wonderful to have you back in Durham, Shelley.
Thank you so much, Patrick.
All right, so that is Shelley Duncan, manager for the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, International League MVP, by the way, in 2009, a multi-Governor's Cup champion, and a member of the 2013 champion Durham Bulls. We thank Shelley for being our guest. Again, you can download this, subscribe, do that on Apple, on Spotify, and on the Durham Bulls TV YouTube channel. New episodes every week. So that's it. We thank Shelley Duncan, Jacoby McDuffie for all the post-production work on the podcast. Until next week, thanks for watching the Durham Bulls Podcast.